Thanks again so much for joining me this afternoon on this Australian Small Business Advisory Services webinar. The webinar today is the Productive Business Owner, and you should get a lot out of the session today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kerrie Saverin. I'm the co-founder of Altitude Business Solutions and very proud to be part of the Australian Small Business Advisory Program. This program is brought to you in Queensland, Northern Territory and Western Australia by Regional Development Australia, Treaty Business Consulting and Business Station Western Australia. So we're very proud to be a part of the program, and we love that the program is continuing to run in its current form. And the fact that these webinars are free, we think that's a really great idea. They haven't always been free. For those of you that have been around for a little while know that. So you're in the right place today if you're ready to learn the benefits of being productive, not only for the running of your business, but also for your bottom line. You know, we can spend a lot of time working in our business and not working on our business, and certainly having a more productive schedule or having a bit of routine as to what we're doing really will help out with that. So every business owner wants to be productive. I mean, it feels good. You know, we can look at something and we can say, yes, we've done that, we've created that. We like that things get done. And productivity, interestingly enough, looks different to everybody, to all different people. But the feeling of productivity is universal. You know, for one person, productivity might be creating an incredible presentation for a meeting. And for another, it may be actually developing a new product or coming up with a new design. But the feeling of what productivity makes people feel like is exactly the same. It's universal. And certainly I know what it's like for myself, even not in a business sense, but just from a life sense, you know, getting up in the morning and making your bed and feeling like you've been productive and doing something, it gives you that little bit of a lift that you need. Now, productivity encourages a true sense of purpose. So it offers a deep, fulfilling accomplishment, and it's important for us to be feeling happy and feeling accomplished. But being productive also gives you the freedom to spend more time with the ones that you love and less time worrying about other things. So in the case of your business, it might be getting to spend more time with your family and less time in your business because you're being more productive. You know, if you're looking for that sense of purpose and happiness that can come from being productive, this webinar is probably going to help you out with that as well. We're giving you a few tips there. Now, there is always a battle for productivity. It's a daily battle. I always say it's like a clean slate each day. You can have a great day one day and not so great day the next. It's not always easy. I mean, there are so many things that can cause your productivity to falter and even come to an absolute complete stop. So as a business owner, you're constantly battling 1,000 distractions that can block your creativity or derail you from your current task that you're doing. And let's face it, sometimes you can have a complete day where you just go, I'm going to write that day off and I'm not even going to bother. And these distractions, they may stem from your personal life or they may be work related also. You know, depending on the type of business that you're in, you're receiving distractions all day. You're getting, you know, text notifications, you've got staff issues, social media pings, phone calls are coming through. You're going to pick the kids up from school. You know, it can all be happening all at once. And it seems that just as you push and start to get to the important things that you need to do, another phone call comes through, or it's a message that you feel like you really need to reply to. You know, you look at your phone to answer a message. The next thing you find yourself on social media, if you're like me, which is not a great thing. And even if you're able to set aside your distractions, you may still feel like that you're not really accomplishing anything. But certainly, I think a lot of you would agree that the distractions that we have around us today, particularly from a technology point of view, are huge compared to what they were at the same time 15 years ago. We didn't have all of these distractions. Now you're busy, you might answer a lot of emails or reply to a lot of texts or do a lot of things, but you come away each day feeling like you haven't really accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, and you're not productive and things aren't done. Or, you know, you're getting things done, but you're not getting the right things done. And when it comes to growing a small business, getting the right things done is really important. And normally it's those really little things. It's the little things done with consistency that gets your business to grow. So we've all had this feeling. Have you ever felt like that? You've been working really hard, but you're actually getting nowhere. You know, you go to bed exhausted and you wake up exhausted and you just feel like you're running around in circles all day at your business. Well, you're not the only one that feels this way. And in fact, a lot of business owners do feel this way. Or maybe you're distracted by working in your business so much, particularly if you're like this business here, which is a bricks and mortar business and you actually have to be there. You know, I had a cafe, so I know exactly what it's like to be just stuck in the trenches making those coffee and you don't have time to actually work on your business. And it's a trap that many business owners find themselves in. Or maybe you're procrastinating. Procrastinating is a massive one. I actually call it procrasto working sometimes. You know, procrasto working is where you work on things that you really like to do so that you can avoid the things that you don't want to do. So I call it procrasto working. You're still working, so it's justified. You know, I'm still there, I'm still working, but you're not actually working on the things that are going to grow your business or that are productive. So today we're going to be talking about 4 pillars. And there's not going to be too many slides today. There's going to be a lot of me talking. So I'm going to ask you to take a lot of notes, but you will receive a copy of the recording, as I said. So we're going to be going over the 4 pillars of what I like to call of productivity. And hopefully they should help you avoid feeling unaccomplished as you go through your day. So the first one that we're going to talk about is systems and goals. Now, you've probably been told that in order to be productive that you should set some really big goals, you know, some SMART goals or some stretch goals. And the thinking goes that in order to achieve anything meaningful that you need to turn it into a goal, you know, you need to have a goal. And I'll be honest with you, this is something that I struggled with a lot of years because they talk about your why. You know, people always talk about your why and you go, you got to have a goal. What's your goal? And my goal never was, I want to go on an overseas holiday or I want to drive that fancy car. And my goal always was, I just want to live a happy life and spend as much time as I can with my family. So that was my ultimate goal. But I never had these big goals a lot of people have, and that's okay. You know, goals can be really helpful, absolutely, but they aren't always ideal. The big issue with the goal process is that it actually has an endpoint. You know, you start a goal and you achieve that goal. When you get to the end, that's it. You're kind of done with it. So you also can feel like you're not successful when you're on the journey of completing a goal. You feel like that until you've reached that end goal, you don't feel like you're a success at all. And then when you've achieved it, you either A, simply have to start all over again with the next goal. The reality is you might even not even know what the next goal should be. So you kind of feel a little bit like, oh, okay, I did it and that's all great, but what do I do now? You know, should you always be seeking to accomplish something else? Even worse, when you know, since you've already accomplished a goal, you may go back to your old habits. You know, losing weight is a really good one of this one, I'd say. Instead of actually pushing and continue to grow, you know, you lose that forward progress that you made and you go back to your old habits. So do you see, like with this, is it giving you an idea of how the regular goal process can make you feel like sometimes a bit of a constant failure? I mean, how many of us have set goals to lose weight as an example and never actually got there? And it's so true when you say, you know, I'm going to lose X amount of kilos, but there is a better way, and that is by actually having a system. So an effective system will ensure that you reach your end result while also letting you enjoy the achievements along the way. And using a system doesn't mean that you have no goals. It just means that you start to focus more on what the process is rather than the final destination. So it might not be all about losing the 20 kilos. It might be about eating healthy and exercising on a daily basis, day after day after day. And that's the small focus goal that you're on. So systems allow you to make progress on your goals every single day. If you stick with the system, it will guarantee your success and it will help you reach your milestones. And you'll avoid that feeling that you're just spinning the wheels and you're not really sort of getting anywhere, because you'll feel like, well, at least I'm following the process. Now, some of you might be asking, well, I still don't really understand what's the difference between a system and a goal. And I'll give you a couple of examples that you might be able to relate to. Spoken about the losing weight. You know, losing 10 kilos may be the goal, but the system is to eat right and exercise on a daily basis. And it's the same with your business as well. Here's another example. You know, thinking about your house. Suppose that your goal is to clean the house from top to bottom. You've spent the whole day cleaning and you feel very satisfied with what you've done. However, there's no system in place. Your home will quickly go into disarray as soon as the kids come home from school, in my household anyway. And after a few days, the dishes will be overwhelming, the sink will be back to normal. So it's a very short-lived. A system, on the other hand, would be to have a cleaning routine in place. Instead of cleaning the entire house all on one day and then spending the rest of the week it getting sort of dirty again, you would have a system of each day. On Monday, I'm going to clean the kitchen, and on Tuesday, I'm going to do this, and on Wednesday, I'm going to do that. So you'd have that system going so that it does make it easier and feel like that you're getting on top of things. Here's a business example. Let's say that you offer services to customers, and the goal might be, I'm going to make it a money goal. So the money goal would be that you want to generate 50,000 in revenue over the next 4 months. So that's the goal. The system would be every day you're going to make 3 cold calls, or how many it's going to be necessarily to take, to find potential new customers. And you're also going to call 10 existing customers or previous customers. Now, I know a lot of businesses around that work on a model like this, and they're very successful at it. Real estate agents are a good example. Those successful real estate agents, those listings don't just land in their lap. They're sitting down every day and they're cold calling 10 new people, and they're calling 10 past clients and touching base with them to see how they are. They're building relationships so that $10,000 commission can land in their lap. It doesn't land, it's hard work. So that's the real difference. This is a really good one. Generate $50,000 in revenue, do these small things every day in order to get there. Now, the system ensures that you reach the end result. Using a system doesn't mean that you have no goals. You have a goal. It just means that you start to focus on the process rather than the final destination. So having a process in place is really important for every part of your business. Now, I know some of you will be sitting there saying that this is awesome, but if you're an A-type personality, then this shift might feel a little bit uncomfortable for you, because they're normally really goal-orientated. You might feel like that you're giving up control a little bit, or not, focusing so much energy on a future goal. But trust me, as a small business owner myself, and I am a type A personality, a bit of a control freak, changing from a goal-orientated kind of system to a process-orientated system has totally changed my business. Because I was really great at sitting back and dreaming up those goals, but I wasn't always great at following the process to get there. And being productive and having a system for keeping you productive in your business is a system. So how do you introduce a daily system that can help you be more productive? Well, you can keep it simple. We use a daily to-do diary. So it doesn't have to be anything technical. What's really interesting is that, yes, I'm the digital girl, but sometimes just a piece of paper and a pen works best as well. So going old school, there's obviously programs and stuff that you can use, and we do use a lot of them with our clients. So if I'm going to make a few suggestions to you, Trello is a really good one. Airtable is another good one if you're wanting to keep track of like a project management type of thing. But this is just giving you an example of my to-do list. This is what I've actually made up. So I've just made up this, and I've had it actually printed. I've done it into a book, and I have made it a PDF, and I've sent it to Officeworks, and it's actually sitting on my desk right here next to me now. So this is talking about, these are all the things that I've got to do. You notice number 1 at the top is all those squares up to 100. So that's prospecting calls. So that could be calling any potential clients or conversations that I'm having with someone. Do I ever get to 100? No, not really. Some days I only get to 6. Other days I get to 25. It just depends on how much business I've got that I'm working on at the moment, or, if I've got a webinar or workshop on that day. So it's not about beating myself up. It's about giving myself the opportunity to grow. And then just so I can keep track, I've got that booking and sales made kind of tab there as well. Now, what that is when I make one of those phone calls, if somebody decides that they're going to book with me, I circle the number 1. And it just gets me knowing my numbers. If I can show that I've made 11 phone calls today, and from those 11 phone calls, 1 person booked, it kind of makes me feel a little bit different about calling those people. Now, none of us really like to get up and cold call. It's probably one of the last things that we would actually consider doing. But we do, if we know that there's a reason behind it or there's numbers behind it, it makes it very easy. I'll refer back to real estate because I used to be a real estate agent, and I knew that I had to make 88 phone calls, that's 88 cold calls to homeowners, before one of them would agree to let me into their home to do an appraisal. And what's really interesting about that is the first time I made those phone calls, I made it really hard because I didn't know what my number was. But once I knew that I had to make 88 phone calls before I would get one person who would book one, it made it so much easier because when somebody said no, I'd go, oh, well, that's one closer to my 88. So once you have a system in place and you know your numbers, it makes things a little bit easier. I've got myself a little bit of a to-do list there, which is it changes and evolves each time I do it. And then I've got a series of lines. And then over to the right-hand side, I've got my daily diary as well, so I can put all my appointments and stuff in there. Now, if you guys run an electronic diary and you want to keep everything electronic, you can certainly do that, absolutely. Gmail has some great task-orientated apps, and you can put to-do lists and everything in there as well. My inbox becomes a bit of a to-do list, so there's action and things that I need to do in there as well. But it's really easy to get sort of caught up in that. So that is the first point. The first point is about putting systems in place over just setting goals. The second pillar that we're going to be talking about is the early bird gets everything done. Now, rising early is one of the key things that most successful business owners do. Like if you talk to any of the top CEOs, they're normally part of something ridiculous like a 5 a.m. club. Now, the early morning hours, they're one of the best times to tackle your most important task. Getting up early allows you to accomplish a lot of things before the rest of your family is even out of bed or before your competition is out of bed. And it's not always easy to become an early riser. You do have to, practice. Is that the right word? But yeah, you do. I just started out by maybe setting my alarm for 15 minutes early every day. And I find that gets me there a lot easier. You may even be familiar, Benjamin Franklin said a quote, which was, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I think that that was very true in him saying that. Now, this is where my slideshow started to play up a little bit. So I'm just going to ask you to bear with me for a second while I just find the screen of the rest of my notes here. And bear with me while I tackle through. There won't be too many slides from here because this is where, unfortunately, I had a few issues. So, okay, sorry, I'm just getting my space again. So let's have a look at what science says about rising early. There's been a lot of research done over the years about night owls and how they're more prone to negative thought patterns and how early risers seem to be a lot more optimistic. But there was actually a study done in 2014. Now, it was actually done with some students, so I don't really know, obviously they're of a certain age, but there was 100 of them that they did survey. And they found that people who get less sleep or delay their sleep are prone to repetitive negative thinking. And I thought this was really interesting to bring up because, there are people who are optimists and there are people who are pessimists, and I'm a real optimist. I wouldn't say I always get up early, but I do get a decent amount of sleep. If I stay up late and I get up the next day, I'm not in a great mood. It doesn't really gel well with me. So I have to make sure that I get that right amount of sleep. But when I get up early and I get myself into a routine of getting up early, that actually puts me in a really good mood. And it's been proven, it was proven through this study that early risers actually increase their chance of success. So out of the students that were studied, the report was that a higher percentage of the morning people were actually successful in their studies. And I thought that was really interesting because from that point, I think as a business owner, if you've got yourself into routine and you're getting up early, you are starting yourself off for success every day. Now, when I talk about getting up early, I'm not talking about you having to get up at 5 a.m. every day. If early for you is 8 o'clock in the morning, then it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, if early for you is 9 o'clock, then it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Whatever your early is in your industry, because obviously it's going to be different for different industries, then consider, you know, just being part of the leaders and getting up that little bit earlier. There was another study done in 2008 with very similar, but they were actually students and they did it over a longer period of time, and they did it over their whole university I was going to say university career, but at the time that they were at university, they did it over the whole time. And it was really interesting that those ones that were early risers did end up in the end with the best results. So there are a few tips that I can give you to being an early riser. So obviously tip number one is getting to bed a little bit earlier. That always helps in being able to get up early the next day. You know, a late night out may feel really good and feel like a good time, but to be productive and get up early the next day, it's not always a good idea. So just make sure that you're getting your rest in where you can and getting to bed early. Tip number two would be to turn your screens off. I know we've probably all heard this before, but an hour before you go to bed, turning off that technology and just making sure that your mind has an opportunity to rest. And unfortunately, with the advancement of TV screens these days as well, they're emitting so much blue light that even watching TV leading up to bed can be bad as well and stop you from actually getting a good night's sleep. So you might have to go back to the old reading a magazine before you go to bed, or reading a book. I know I used to read books until I fell asleep. So, you know, that might be something that you go back to as well. Tip number three is creating a sleep routine. So that's where you actually go to bed at the same time every evening, and you know, you get up every day. It becomes a lot easier as well. What's interesting about this is when you do start getting yourself into a routine of getting up early, even on those days that you have off, you will find yourself getting up early as well. So it will really put you into that right mind frame for the rest of your week, whether that's working or not. It's interesting that there's the National Sleep Foundation actually suggests that it's really important for you to have a relaxing routine activity before you go to bed. So whether that's having a few stretches or just, you know, that routine, you go back to think of, you know, babies, when babies are born, they always have like a bedtime routine or a sleep routine. Even children up to the ages of, you know, 7 or 8, it's bedtime is 7:30, or this is what time bedtime is. But as adults, we really try to, we get out of that habit. So yeah, you know, if you need something to occupy your time, as I said, reading a book would be great. But other things that you could include in your evening routine to help you out in that area would be to have a warm, non-caffeinated drink. Caffeinated, that was close. Non-caffeinated drink. You know, do some meditation or have a warm bath, some breathing exercises, or using an app like Calm. If you've heard of the app Calm, that's very good as well. Just have a lay down and listen to that for a little while. But that, you know, getting yourself into that good bedtime routine can help as well. Tip number 4, exactly what's on the screen, get some exercise. Now, whether you get up early in the morning and do your exercise, or you do it late in the afternoon, or you do it in the middle of the day, it doesn't matter. But if you're like me, unfortunately, I'm in a job where I sit down most of the day. So getting up and getting that morning activity and getting the blood pumping is really important for me as well. So intense exercise is the most conducive for a good night's sleep as well. So you'll be a little bit more exhausted, and it'll help out with that sleep routine. And exercise has been found to increase the amount of hours that you're actually in a deep sleep. It'll improve your sleep quality, and it will help you sleep longer. So it's going to help out with that tip number 3 as well. Tip number 5, keep your alarm clock at a distance. This is something I could learn from. I slept through my alarm yesterday for the first time in a very long time. But that was because it was right next to me, and I picked it up and turned it off and went back to sleep. So having your alarm clock at a distance, so you actually have to get up and turn it off, means that when that alarm, you set the alarm, you make the commitment to get up, that you are getting up and making it really easy to keep that as well. Tip number 6, when you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling like you should be out of bed, splash a bit of cold water on your face, and that will really get you going for the day as well. Tip number 7, give yourself a reason to get up. So think of a compelling reason that you want to get up. So what do you want to achieve? What do you want to get done? You know, choose something that will give you that productive feeling throughout the day as well, because you want that to obviously continue. Now, that says pillar number 2, and it's meant to be pillar number 3. So kill your distractions. We spoke very, very briefly about distractions, but you know the feeling. You know, you sat there, you've got yourself all organized, like I said earlier, and you then ping, the phone starts going, something starts happening. You know, you're finally in the right mindset to actually get something done, but you have everybody else's distractions. I can give you a few tips in relation to some of the things. So when it comes to your phone, there's a feature on your phone called Do Not Disturb. You need to block out times of the day when that Do Not Disturb is turned on if you're in an office job, so that you can get things done. People will always leave a message and you can always get back to them if it's that important. But if you don't, you know, block out those time frames, you're going to find yourself answering your phone calls all day. And somebody told me a long time ago, and it really stuck with me, was don't interrupt your day with somebody else's urgent. Okay, so when that person is ringing you, that's their urgent, but you might not be in the right frame of mind to actually be dealing with what they have for you at that particular point in time. Now, when I was in real estate, I found this really hard to deal with, because obviously if I was selling a home, I wanted to do the right thing for my owners, and a buyer would call and say, I want to get through this property. So not answering my phone actually gave me a little bit of a panic attack. You know, it kind of made me feel like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Or, you know, it doesn't feel right to do that. But after being in the industry for 5 years, what I learned was, you know, someone would always leave a message and I would always be able to call them back. If I didn't answer my phone right then and there, in half an hour's time, I was still going to have the opportunity to talk to them. So nothing is normally that important. So block out times of the day so you can, you know, and the good thing about Do Not Disturb is that once you put it on, it also disturbs any of your other email alerts that you might have coming on notifications, or anything that you might have from your social media accounts as well. If you work at a bricks and mortar office and you have other staff working around you, you know, just make sure you communicate to them that, you know, if they have anything that they need to come and talk to you about, that they'll certainly be able to get you up to 10:15 in the morning, or whatever the time is. It's not you're not saying to someone, you know, stay away from me until 10:15. What you're saying is, at 10:15, I'm going to be ready to listen to you. So it'd be really great if you could come back to me then. So just making sure that people understand that as well. And then you can just get stuck into whatever it is that you need to do. Unfortunately, distractions are one of the main killers of productivity. You know, somebody else is urgent, a ping coming through on your social media, an email coming in. Those distractions can stop you from getting what you need to get done. So eliminating some distractions, I'll give you a few tips on this as well. So tip number 1 is to make a plan the night before. So as I told you earlier, we have a bit of a to-do book that we've done up. So what I do is, at the end of the day, between sort of 5 and 5:30 under normal circumstances, when I'm finishing up for the day, I'll look at that list and I'll see whether I've got everything done, and anything that I didn't get done, I'll actually flip over to the next day and start writing on to the next day. So when I finish work at 5:30, I know where I'm at for the next day. So I've made a bit of a plan about what I'm going to do for the next day. And that works really well no matter what industry you are in. So when I had my cafe, I used to always make sure I had an exercise book in the car. And before I left the cafe, I used to write down all the things that I wanted to get done the next day, and then I would leave it in the car. And the good thing about that was, it meant when I got home from work, I was really present with my family, because I knew all of my work stuff was sort of taken care of, and what was going to get done tomorrow. So it kind of gives you that feeling that it's acceptable for you to just sort of spend the evening with your family and doing what you think. So if you're somebody that wears a uniform, also, you know, getting ready for the next day, you know, make sure that your uniform's ready to go. You know, you might even want to get your lunch ready as well, so you've got that ready to go. So that way you can sort of get up and start your day with real purpose and get going. Step number 2, cut out all social media during work time. This is a really hard one for me because obviously I'm a social media manager. So I have to really stop myself from checking platforms all the time. You know, you do use a scheduling platform to schedule a lot of our posts over. So I tend to spend a lot of my time in there as opposed to being on the actual platform, because I want to make sure that I'm not wasting my time on social media. And you know what's hard is that, yes, social media can absolutely be a necessary resource for marketing and selling your business, but you can't spend your whole entire day on there constantly checking to make sure, you know, getting every ping and notification. You know, there has to be some sort of system to it. If you're smart, you will do your social media up and you will have it ready to post so that you don't have to be on there posting it. And then you'll just be replying maybe once a day to any comments that are on there as well. I'll give you some more tips about getting your social media organized as well. So, you know, set yourself a schedule. You know, most people get out of bed in the morning and check their social media. If you're like that, do that. Check your personal social media, get it over and done with. Don't look at it for the rest of the day. Go back to thinking about the old days before we actually had phones in our pockets and social media in our pockets, where we would just get up, drive to work and actually work all day and then get in the car and come home. And that's essentially what you need to do with your business as well. So you can use a few tools like most, I know the iOS, the iPhone has it, and I'm sure Android has it as well, but they can actually tell you how much time you're spending in social media platforms on your phone as well. So, you know, check that out and have a look and see what it's saying and see if you're excessive or not. Make sure you turn off all non-business related notifications. I've just done this recently with my Instagram account. It would ping, ping, ping all day. And while I was really good at not checking it, still the pinging was annoying. So I've just now turned off all the notifications so I don't get any of those. So make sure that you use your business social media accounts to engage with your customers, obviously, but that becomes part of your routine. Part of your productivity routine is that you check your social media account for your business. It's part of the system that you have in place. So tip number 3 is make sure you create boundaries for interruptions. I touched on this a little bit earlier where I said, you know, come to me at 10:15 with any concerns that you have. So that way you are just letting everybody know around you that, you know, this is what you're looking to do to keep your productivity up. Give yourself periods in the day, during your day, where you can not check your phone and your emails as well. I know there's so many digital products out there. You know, you might be on Slack or Monday or Trello or wherever you are, but just give yourself time in the day to not check those things also. And just make sure you get yourself into a bit of a rhythm. Now, if you're a bricks and mortar shop and maybe you have a cafe, it can be very easy to get into routine, because when you get there, you have to start making coffee and you go through the breakfast routine and then you go into the lunch routine and then you go into the afternoon tea routine. So you just need to simply stick to that. And if you're a business owner like me that works from a desk, probably the main thing is just having that bit of a schedule and a bit of a to-do list and keeping those distractions at bay. Tip number 4, I really need some work in this area, but creating a productive workspace. If you could see the desk next to me at the moment, I'm sort of having a bit of a clean out. So you know how you've got to make a mess before you actually clean it up? We're really at the mess stage with my desk at the moment. So what that means is that I have paperwork just all over the place, but having a productive workspace can make it have, you know, a huge impact and make a big difference to how your day works. You know where everything is. Productivity produces productivity. So in other words, if you are, you know, your space is nice and clean, you're productive in that space. So, you know, trying to keep your desk and everything nice and tidy as well. Tip number 5, it can't be all work. You know, while there are a few successful individuals who truly just work all the time and don't play, most people have a little bit of playtime. When you're a business owner, it can be really easy to just continue to work. I've got, particularly if you're in the creative space, I've got this new idea, I've got that new idea, and this is what I'm going to do. And all of a sudden you're working every day. So just make sure, it becomes very frustrating when you start working all the time as well. So, making sure that you've got some time to be able to relax. When you are working, make sure throughout the day that you go and have a lunch break. Have that half an hour or an hour lunch break. If you worked for somebody else, you'd be going and having that lunch break. So make sure you're having that lunch break to give to yourself as well. It will make your work a little bit more enjoyable for you, planning to have those breaks as well. And make sure that you have a finishing time. I know a lot of business owners, and I can be guilty of this. Oh, I'll finish when I've finished creating this thing. Or, instead of saying, well, I finish at 5 o'clock and that's where I'm going to finish for the day. Making sure you book your holiday in as well. That can be a really good one for helping you stay on track. So limiting your distractions can greatly enhance your chances of success. You'll never be able to cut out all of your distractions, but limiting them can really make sure that you set yourself up for success. So reducing your social media, limiting your communication, making time to have those breaks that you deserve. And you'll see that you are more productive when you know, I'm going to get this done before I go on my lunch break, or I'm going to get that done. So it just makes it a little bit easier. Now, the next one that we're going to be talking about is pillar number 4, and I've called this one Slay Your Dragons. Now, in this final pillar, we're going to focus on prioritizing your workday. So, well, it's easy to start the day with all that low-hanging fruit like email. Is it the most productive thing to do? Probably not. The most productive business owners and entrepreneurs always focus on getting the most important task done first. So, not just saying, well, I'm going to get the emails done because it's easy for me to open up those emails and get them over and done with, but actually going and getting that most important thing done. I read a book not that long ago. It's called Eat the Frog, because we tend to leave those things that we don't want to do to the end, but sometimes they're the most important thing. And I think that's key here. Now, there has been some research done on this. In 2017, the Harvard Business School actually released a paper that was called The Task Selection and Workload. So, and the study was meant to discover how starting with easier tasks versus starting with harder tasks might affect your productivity. So it was really interesting read. Then the study concluded that completing easier tasks does create a very short-term sense of satisfaction. Yes, I've got that done. If you're a list ticker, tick, 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 then you'll like doing those easy tasks first, but it can really have a negative impact on your long-term productivity. And this is where that book, Eat the Frog, comes into it, because you find you're subconsciously leaving those things that you don't want to do to the end. So in other words, you had a short-term victory because you're ticking a few things off. However, but because you're not pushing yourself to get those really important things done, it was, not making you feel great in the end. So you need to make sure that you have a plan put into action. Only you know what are your most difficult or complicated tasks that you need to get done throughout the day, but you need to do your best to have them first up on the list. So it's something that you really don't like to do, but really needs to be done. Put it up first, get it over and done with at the beginning of the day. Hit them first thing in the morning when you're at your strongest. And that way, your difficult tasks might not take that long. It just might be that you don't like to do them. So get them done up the front and out of the way. And as your day goes on, your ability to focus, it diminishes. It does. They've proven this. This is why they do a lot of learning at school in the morning, not so much after lunch, because your focus does diminish. Your willpower also starts to fall apart. That's why we have the 3 o'clock sweet snack that comes in. And, you just need to, getting that important stuff done at the beginning of the day will help immensely with your productivity. So productivity is in your grasp. We've gone through the 4 pillars. I want to spend the last 15 minutes just going over those pillars, but also having a chat to you about some of the technology that you might be able to use. I'm just going to go back. I don't want to go on that slide yet. So pillar number 1 was developing a system over a goal and a system that works for you to keep you on track. Now, whether that's having a to-do list or doing like we did and creating a form and having that going, or whether it's introducing some sort of technology to keep you on track. So if I was going to suggest any programs to you, Trello is fantastic, Airtasker is fantastic for keeping, and they both have free versions. That's why I recommend those for keeping you on track with your to-do lists. So pillar number 2 was waking up early in the morning to, get ready for your day and making sure, get a bit of exercise in and making sure you're ready to go. Now, whether you are getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning or whether you are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it really doesn't matter. It's about creating that routine as well. And any of these successful entrepreneurs that you see around the world will all be following this same kind of system. Pillar number 3, and probably the most important one, is cut out all the distractions. It's very easy when the best friend rings you in the middle of the day to pick up that phone and answer it because you want to have a chat to that person. But you've got tasks that need to get done. You've got the system in place. You've developed the system. You know what you need to do. You know those little things that you need to do every day in your business to get you to where you need to be. So cut out the distractions and start working on getting that thing done. And pillar number 4 is making sure that you overcome your most difficult and important tasks first. Eat the frog up front. Just do those tasks straight away. So you can see how putting those 4 things together would really help out with your productivity throughout the day. There is another bit of a system that I can recommend to you also, and it's the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but we use it quite often. So the Pomodoro technique, and bear with me because I can't really remember where it came from, but you can search it on Google. You'll find lots of information about it. But it's talking about sitting down and actually just doing 25 minutes worth of block work. And then having a 5-minute break. And we find that really effective when we have to get a lot of things done for our clients also. So we put a timer on for 25 minutes. And then once we get to the end of that 25 minutes, we might reward ourselves by getting up and making a cup of tea or going through and, just having a bit of a break, getting up from the computer. We spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer, so that's important to us. So having that technique in place and having those systems in place, making sure that you have cut out all your distractions, that you've got your processes in place for your business so that you can be as productive. And this might come down to as well, you needing to get yourself a whiteboard and actually just mapping out, your customer journey to make sure that the way your customers are processed is the most productive way for you also. That you're not doubling up on too much work, that there isn't some sort of automation that you can put in place that's going to help you out with your day, because you want to get as much done as you possibly can throughout the day. I'm going to ask for some feedback from you guys now. I know there's only a few of you here today, but have you guys struggled in the past with any kind of productivity? Do you have any questions on any of that? Or do you have anything that you want me to cover? Because really it is just about getting a system in place for getting up. And I'm certainly happy to share I actually might attach it for you. I'll attach my productivity book that I have. As I said, I created it in Word and I saved it as a PDF, and I just get it printed at Officeworks into a book. So it's right here next to me, so you can see it there. With all of my writing on it, stuff that I need to get done today, and scribbles all over it as I've been speaking to people on the phone. But I've really found that system works well for me, and it worked well for me when I was in real estate also. So, depending on the type of business that you have, your productivity and how you put those systems in place is going to look very different. It might not be paper-based. It may be more about staff, if you've got staff, making sure that they know when they can and they can't come and, come and talk to you, when they, knowing when you're busy doing certain things so that they leave you alone, and what's your routine about doing that as well. When I had my cafe, I had rosters to do as a really good example. And the staff knew that Thursday afternoons, I was going to grab a coffee and I was going to sit down in the cafe and I was going to do those rosters, and it was going to take me 2 hours to do them. So I would sit there and I would do those rosters, and they knew that it was a time not to distract me. So I just want to get on to talking about the next webinars that are coming up also. So the next one that we have coming up is not actually, that's incorrect. It's not actually grow your business using social media. This is how much trouble I've had with my slides today. It is actually creating a highly effective business plan. So if you haven't been to that one before, that's a really good one. We go through step by step how you can create a really effective business plan that you can actually submit to your bank or to an investor that you may need to. So another great free webinar, and it's on Tuesday the 6th of April. That date is actually right. It's just that there's the wrong webinar up there. I could tell that straight away from the picture. Now, the ASBAS program is a fantastic program, and there's a lot of options for you when it comes to also, obviously you have these free webinars which you can come to, but there's also the $25 workshops, which are a 2-hour workshop. Some of them are in person and some of them are online. So I'm going to ask you to refer to the ASBAS website, which is asbas.com.au, and that will tell you all the information on there as well. You also have the opportunity to book yourself a one-on-one session with an expert, and you have access to experts all over the country. So you've got Dante up there, up in the Northern Territory, you've got Joe and a few other great people over in Western Australia. So you can have access to these people from right across the country. Now, those sessions start out from $44, but at the most they're $66, depending on how many of those you've had. So you may like to go through and do that also. So basically that's it for me today, guys. I know I finished a little bit earlier, but you've all been very quiet. So, and I know that productivity really is a personal thing when it comes to how you're going to put something in place. And today's webinar was just about giving you some ideas and some thought tracks around how you might be able to increase your productivity at work. But really staying focused is probably the best one, and really deleting out those distractions so you can get things done. So if nobody has any questions of me today, I'm going to sign off a few minutes early. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope to see you at the next webinar.